Hey everyone, we are back at it.
Welcome to another episode of Cabo Adventures 101. This is episode number 4.
And today we are going to be talking about financing here in the Cabo, Baja area. And so first we're going to start off with who can buy here.
Actually, it's pretty easy. When you come over here on the plane, you're going to fill out some forms, and one of those forms is your tourist visa. The tourist visa actually gives you permission to buy property in Mexico. So pretty
easy
simple.
Is that? So most people, we get asked all the time where there's misconceptions of like, you know, you have to be a Mexican citizen. There's no way. And if you do buy over there, they take it away from you or they come confiscate it. None of that is true. Everyone's pretty safe down here. People have bought and sold and from all over the world. So
yeah,
anyways.
One of the reasons that people have that misconception is because if you're not a Mexican citizen, you're legally not allowed to buy anything within 30 miles of the coast or 60 miles of a border. And the workaround for that is Percomiso, which is basically a trust where a bank will basically sponsor you, and then the bank technically owns the property. You keep paying like say $500 a year to keep that trust in play, and as long as you keep that trust with the bank, you'll own the property forever. It's that simple.
Super easy peasy.
So what options? What are some of the options? What's your favorite option?
So to buy would be cash. So if you are sitting on a big fat lump of lump of money somewhere, you can come down here and invest. There is plenty of that going around over here. There is a lot of building going on, a lot of condos, not so many single family homes, but condos is where people are putting their money into because there's a lot of people coming down here and doing Airbnbs. So huge community for that. So yeah, cash if you have it.
And you can also do financing. We actually did kind of both. We did one property that we bought, we paid cash. The other property we did cash and financing. And you can do your own research on some of the people, you know, that offer financing down here. But for us, you know, I'm a wholesale mortgage broker back in the States. So the company that we went with is called Global Mortgage, which is now known as Moxie. And they're based in Austin, Texas, and in Mexico City. So that was something that gave us more of a sense of security, is that they're USA based, you know, and obviously they have a Mexican presence here. So they were very easy to work with. Yeah. They also have an office here in San Jose de Cabo that you can go into and speak to those folks. And they were just great to work with. Super easy, very straightforward. You know, they request the list of documents. You provide that to them. They'll pre-approve you and basically handle everything from there. A couple of things that you need to know is the financing down here. It's like 25-year maximum. In most cases, you know, you want to borrow that money and you want to pay it off as fast as you can because the interest rates are a little bit higher. I mean, you're having basically investors that are in the U.S. They pull their money together through Moxie, and then they're loaning you that money. That money's coming over here to Mexico, so it's high risk. So with that risk, you're going to pay, you know, higher interest rate. And the rates are generally between 8% up into the 10s, and which, you know, it doesn't really sound that high compared to today's rate market. So, and then it would be like 50, you know, like I said, 50% of the value of the home or less. If your loan profile is really super solid, you might be able to get maybe an extra 5%. But I would just bank on 50%. And the other caveat is right now they are only financing to U.S. citizens. So say even if you were born, say, in Mexico and then you came to the United States and were naturalized and became a U.S. citizen, they still won't finance you money. You have to be a U.S. born citizen at this point in time. I know they want to open it up basically worldwide, but at this point you have to be a natural born U.S. citizen.
And they were very great to work with. You know, they were in communication with us throughout the whole entire thing. If we had any questions, they answered them like that. Mm-hmm. And then they would have Zoom calls with us. I mean, they had Zoom calls with us to explain it. Hey, any questions do you have for us? You know, we're face to face, ask us now. And then just sitting at the table and doing the signing and stuff. I mean, just super, they explained every bit, and it's a long process. It's not like the States. It's a longer process, and you actually have the seller that sits next to you. Kind of weird.
Closing.
For closing, when you're signing at the table. But anyways, we'll go more into that later. But yeah, it's just, I just wanted to say that they were amazing, and I would highly recommend them to anybody. So.
Yeah, very great, very professional. They're very, very great.
Yeah.
And another option that you have is doing a cash out refi. You could do a cash out refi on your property back in the States with, with what we just said, the 8 to 10% interest rate. Even doing a cash out right now in the United States, I mean, it'll still probably be a lower rate than that. So if you do have a lot of equity in investment property, or even your primary resident, and you'd like to turn that, make that money work for you, you could buy something down here cash with that equity money, and then start Airbnb-ing it, which would obviously pay your mortgage, and then you get a vacation home.
Yeah.
Another thing that a lot of people ask about is 1031 exchanges.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have investment property in the United States, and you know what? Or say, like, you were like us in California, where it became very difficult to be investment property owners because of all the laws and people not having to pay you rent, and et cetera, et cetera. We wanted to move that money down here so we can get paid Airbnb money, where we would get paid up front and not have to worry about attorneys and evictions and repairs and all these other things. And it is not allowed. 1031 exchange is only allowed inside the United States. You can only, buy and sell investment property and buy, like kind property in the U.S. You can't move that money across the border, so it's not allowed.
So you have to sell and pay your taxes.
Exactly.
But then you come down here and you put it, invest it in something, and you're going to make your money back. Because, like I said, Airbnbs and all the rents and Airbnbs have gone up tremendously because people are just wanting to travel. People are wanting to get out, and with sunny Cabo,
and the equity,
and the
equity growth down here is very strong.
Very strong.
Yes.
Everything's it's moving and grooving over here. So
yes.
So what else?
How about closing costs? What are closing costs like down here?
So closing costs are a lot higher than back in the States. We're back in the States, it's like 2.5% of your sell price. Here it is 25%. So we moved that little dot over it. So it's 25% of your, so that's very important to know ahead of time, because you don't want to be sitting at the table going, what is it I have to fork out? And that was another thing with Moxie, is they were so on it about what you're going to be paying out and stuff. So that's very important to know ahead of time, so you have that extra cash put aside on top of whatever else you're having to pay out. So 25%, just keep that in mind when you're wanting to buy.
How about closing, like as far as like timeline expectations, like from the U.S. versus like here?
Yeah, so much different. Back in the States, it's 30 to 45 days. There was even times where it was only 10 days. So much different here. It's more of a 6 month to a year to maybe even more than that. It's called a soft close in the beginning, where you can actually get your keys and start living there or Airbnb-ing it, but you're not completely closed through the banks on title. You don't have your name on title just yet. That actually can take a lot longer. So so say you're at the table and you're signing, you get the keys right then and there. But title will be once a bank picks it up and signs off on it, then it's yours entirely. We actually just got ours for our Ladera home, our condo. We closed that one up in 6 months. 8 months later, we were completely closed, which is actually a record from what we are understanding. For most people that we're talking to, is a record. So so that's kind of what you're looking at for closing here.
Right. And that's another thing I want to bring up about Moxie was, they did a really excellent job that we didn't know at the time, but they actually do a lot of work on investigating like the property that you're buying, and they really want to make sure that you're going to be able to get on title and get on record, because that's something that down here doesn't necessarily happen all the time, or there's been a lot of history of people that have purchased properties here and they've never gotten on title. I mean, you're talking like 5, 6, 7, maybe even longer years later. So that's really important that you're working with people that understand that, people that are going to do the research on those properties, make sure that you will be able to get on title, because you're not going to be able to sell that property if at some point you're not really on title. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing. Moxie really did a good job vetting the property to make sure that we were going to be on title as well. That's
what's important too, is having a good team behind you, starting with your realtor. Do your investigations, shop around, look for a good realtor. I was going to say team because we're a team. Realtors to just be on your side and guide you in the direction that you need to be guided in. Lawyers, if you're going to finance, the right finance company, those kinds of things. It's very important to know all the logistics behind it all, because you don't want to jump into some, and the builders too. I mean, knowing who the builder is, that's very important.
Yes.
The developers, because some are great, some are not so great. So, so just, we'll be getting more into all that, and just kind of showing you around Cabo and getting more into the buying and living. So,
well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Keep watching, subscribe, and let us help us make your daydreams reality, just like we did for ourselves.
Yes.
Until next time.
Bye.